Hey, folks, welcome to the latest episode of Cruzin With The Coaches, a conversation with Julie and Lee. Oh, wait, you're in the kitchen now. What? You moved from the living room to the kitchen. Where?
No, I wanted to be in the kitchen. I don't know where the living
Oh,
room came from.
oh, gotcha. Just no, just messing with you. Hey, how are you doing? Just making sure you want to be in the kitchen because I know you change locations from time to time. It's all good. It's all good.
All is good. All is good.
Good. And I promise no loofah updates.
Oh,
No
cool.
loofah updates.
Okay.
I'm still waiting for a case. Still waiting for a case, but all is good. When I go to a brush and a bar, I'll
You'll let
have a
me
new
know.
update.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be a new
Okay.
update then. New update. Well,
Love
guys, we hope you all are doing well. But this is a really important topic to us as well because it has to do with you, right? It has to do with how you feel about yourself. And so this is self-worth, man. Um and the importance of it. So before we actually jump into it, is there anything that you would like to say about self-worth before we get into the slides?
just that it's a tricky thing. It's the voice that speaks to you 24/7. And so the question is, do you listen or do you allow yourself to excel beyond what it has to say?
Or even when do you listen? Is
Yeah.
it because you're right, it could go both ways. It
Yeah.
can make you go to the left or the
Mm,
right or up or down, however you want to. But yeah, it
right.
is tricky. All right, well, let's jump into the slides, man. Self worth basically is the ability to love yourself. Okay, and that's the whole person, like spiritually, emotionally, mentally. I don't know if physically counts with that, so we'll leave that out of it. But it could be. It could be. I don't know.
Oh,
In this article, it did not talk about that part. Okay. But it talked about the factors that go with self-worth. So emotional stability, career success, relationship goals, and self-confidence. Those are five factors, five main factors, because there's other things that go with your self-worth as well. And so it's important to point out the difference between self-worth and self-esteem.
hmm.
Self-worth encompass oh, you know what, and I'm sorry, this is from masterclasses.com. That's where we found this article. But self-worth, it encompasses the whole person, right? All those different aspects that I mentioned earlier. And self-esteem is really about your confidence level. Okay. The self-esteem does not deal with the other parts of self-worth. Um, but strong self-worth, it can help you cope with the negative thoughts or self-doubt that we kind of mentioned earlier. And and I kind of changed this a little bit about representation, but representation in the media, and I think representation overall, but representation in the media, childhood experiences, and external factors uh, can diminish self-worth. So let me come back out here on camera. The reason that I kind of put the in the media in parentheses is
Hmm.
because I think the representation is far more important than just media. You know, um, as we're in this upcoming election cycle, it's representation matters, right? Like
Correct.
people are seeing people of color in political office. They're seeing, regardless of your political affiliation, it's not what I'm saying. They're
Hmm.
seeing people of different gender, of different gender identity, right? Representation matters in many different levels. So
It
I
does.
just wanted to be clear that it's not just media, but I think we consume the media most. And so having representation in the media counts for sure, you know? Anything you'd like to add from those few slides before we move on?
I mean, just what you said. I mean, it does. There's so much importance in representation and where people feel comfortable, or in a space where they can be vulnerable,
Hmm.
or just, I mean, yeah, to be in the spaces and places where you see the people who have your faces is such a huge thing.
Man, yeah, absolutely. And again, yeah, it's not just of color, but
Yeah,
men, women,
women.
identity, all of
Yeah,
that stuff. Yeah.
correct.
It,
Correct.
I wanted to point out the what is his current title is the Office of Transportation or Homeland Transportation, something like that. Pete Buttigieg in the office. I never say his name correctly.
That's okay.
But the fact that he identifies as a gay man, right? And he has kids, but he's been in the service, like that representation matters, you know?
Hmm.
So there going to be young people growing up who identify with him and say, "Oh, wait a minute. This doesn't have to limit me
Correct.
into here. I could be, serving my country in
Correct.
some capacity." So that's what we're talking about with
Right.
representation, you know?
Right. And
Uh,
again, the
I'm
vulnerability.
sorry.
That's
Sorry about
okay.
that.
But again, the vulnerability of putting yourself out there like that, because, that mentality is, well, these things didn't exist and these people didn't this and they didn't that. Well, they always did. The issue was they were made to have to
To
suppress
conform.
that
Yeah.
information. And so
Mhm.
now that the information is available and is out there, now we're seeing people grow up feeling a little bit better about themselves a little earlier in their lives than they
Mm.
ever have before.
Instead of having to wait till you're an adult in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, or 70s,
Exactly.
or older, and finally being comfortable in your own skin.
Right, right. Because I think we've all had those two aunts that lived together, but they were just best friends forever. You're just kind of going, now you're like,
Yeah.
what? Like, had that been explained earlier on, then, and if you felt the same way, you wouldn't feel as bad about yourself and like, oh, I've got to hide it because my
Right.
family doesn't accept this. You know
There's
what I'm
gonna be
saying?
shame, and there's gonna be and
Yes.
now we're saying there's still it's still a transition. There are
Correct.
things that
Correct.
people still feel shamed of or get shamed for, right?
Yeah.
But I like that we're moving that needle ever so slightly
Correct.
because representation matters. You see
Yes.
people that you can identify with, you can emulate, and you're like, oh, I'm not bad. I'm
Right.
not evil.
I'm
I'm
not
not this
icky.
scum of the earth. Yeah, right. Like,
I'm not gross. Oh, okay.
right, right. Exactly, exactly. No, so, and I didn't mean to pop the slides up.
Oh no,
Sorry
you're
about
good.
that.
You're good.
Yeah. All right, getting back to the slides here. The next one. Um, so talking about the factors that lead to or influence self-worth. And we'll dive into each one of these in a little bit. There are self-assurance, career success, defined interests, emotional stability, and relationship fulfillment. Um, so I'll go right into them. The first one, self assurance. A person with self assurance knows themselves well and can make decisions confidently. I found this interesting where mimicking others' identities can lead to low self worth. So you should try to carve out your own path and be true to yourself. Um, just real quick, I know a couple episodes ago we had talked about that movie, Single White Female, right? This
Mhm.
was several episodes ago, and we talked about it for different reasons. But that mimicking others' identities, like that's an extreme version. That
Correct.
movie's an extreme version of that for sure.
Very extreme.
But that's kind of what we're talking about, right? If when you
Yeah.
start um, mimicking instead of emulating. Those are two different things.
Correct.
So
Correct.
emulating is because you admire somebody, you're kind of borrowing some principles and things to make them your own and form your own identity, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
mimicking, you can't be someone else. Like you're
Correct. You
you.
shouldn't want to be someone
Mhm,
else, you know?
mhm,
But there's also in the response of others based on who you are, you'll start to even when you have that awareness, you'll start to understand like the way people respond, and you can kind of understand where they are in their situation. Where is your,
mhm,
self-esteem or your worth or what have you? Because I've had things where I'm talking about something that is really positive and I like what I'm talking about and what have you, and then I've shut down because someone has said, and I hate you for that. And you're like, what?
I,
Like,
I thought you were my people. I thought
I
you were
thought
gonna.
you were my friend, but okay. But then
Yeah.
on the same token, you can be in a situation where I was just recently, I was on vacation and I'm coming down on the elevator or going, yeah, going down, up, whatever. I was on the elevator. And the girl looks at me and she goes, you going to the gym? And I said, yep. She goes, you look like you go every day. I said, I do. And she goes, you know what? No, no. She was being positive. She goes, you look
Okay.
like you go every day. And I said, I do. She goes, I love that for you. Like, that's
That's what
where
we're talking
that's
about.
what she's like,
That's
I love that for you. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, so when she got out there, I was like, oh, thank you so much. Oh my God.
you got a little extra set or two in because of that.
Yeah, but she was like, "You look like you go every day." Like, and I was kind of thinking, like, "Where's she going with
know?
this?" But then she was just like, "No, I love that for you. Like, that's dedication." And I was just like, "Thanks." Like that was
Right.
cool. But
Right.
again, you can tell based on the
Where
way
they are.
somebody responds to positive things going on in your life where they
Mhm.
are, for
That
sure.
same thing happened to me. Again, being on vacation a little bit ago, my cousin's husband was working out with me while we were on vacation. So as we came back and back to real life, he's been sending me messages. Hey, I got an hour in the gym today. Hey, I did this.
See, you
So
motivated. Yes.
that's absolutely what we're talking about. You can see where someone is on their journey or something they may have needed to help boost them a little bit,
Yes. Yes.
and that's just us being ourselves. We weren't
Right.
trying, like you weren't in the elevator trying to be something you're not. Like you
No.
focused about to go do you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
there were the days that he didn't join me, but I was there. Like
Right.
I'm doing me. You're more than welcome to come aboard.
Right.
So that's real cool. That's real
Yeah.
cool. That's with the self-assurance part. The next factor is the career success. Um, and a lot of times there's pressure, right, that people put on professional achievement, and they tie their self-worth directly to the professional achievement.
Hmm.
So while career success can be, be a boon, be good, making it the sole thing that your self-worth is tied to, it can lead to isolation and stress, but even more. Um, and you guys heard me say it probably a few episodes ago, or maybe it was this episode. I don't even remember that if I was in this coaching thing for money, I'm in the wrong business, right? In the wrong thing. Not
Right.
that there's not money in it, but that's not the driving factor. That's not the motivation for me. That's not why I do it.
Right.
There are other things that get done for money too, in the personal training and all that, and my TV work. But I don't tie my identity to any of that. It's pieces of who
Right.
I am, but
Right.
not solely any of those things. Um, or not just, well, how much money do you make? And well, if my identity was tied to that, I'd have low self worth. Okay, no, donations are welcome. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, I if you tie it to one thing solely, maybe it's not the profession or money, but there is a danger of tying your self worth to one thing for sure.
Facts. Yep.
Excuse me. The defined interests. So having a hobby that helps you celebrate your personal preferences can give you a stronger sense of selfhood and lead to higher levels of self-worth. Um, I've seen that just with like doing triathlon. You know, people are like, "Oh wow, that's a great thing," and of course I'm sitting there like, well, no, it wasn't like the Iron Man or anything like that. But then I'm like, but wait, I did swim, bike, and run. Yeah, all in one race. That's yeah. So again, it's a hobby and an interest that I had, but it actually motivated people to find their own interests too. You know,
Right.
so defined interest is good. Um, Emotional stability, and this is a big one. Knowing how to cope or manage self criticism means that you're learning how to prioritize self care and boost your self esteem even when the times are challenging.
Hmm.
I just want to come out here real quick to talk about that one because that when things go wrong, that opens the door for many other negative things to fill that space, right?
Right.
So I will share this openly. Um, I remember well, and we've talked about it when we first started getting back to our show again. I was in a depression, in a functional depression, but and the more I have reflected on it, it started with business. There was grief that I hadn't dealt with yet, but the door that opened was business. And so I'd made some not so wise business decisions. And when I couldn't, here we go talking about money. When I couldn't make up the money from the discount given, that opened up the oh my gosh, am I doing the right thing? Am I
Right.
even meant to do this? All the negative self talk, right?
Right.
So the more I went down that path, okay, maybe I'm not meant to do this. I'm not worthy of being a coach. I'm not worthy of being in business. I'm not worthy of all of that. Well, guess what? More negative stuff crept in because the grief was like, hey, you
It's
still
like,
got me to deal with. And
that's what
so
happened.
it is an easy, slippery slope to be
It
on if you don't have the tools to manage even when the times are tough, you
is.
know? And that's when, professionals like therapists and coaches, um, and yes, I went through therapy and it's not the first time I have done it and probably won't be the last,
Right.
but it helps to get you back to a level playing field where you can then manage on your own again.
Well, at
So
least you're looking at it and you're recognizing the spiral. You know what I mean? It's like if you
absolutely.
don't recognize the spiral, that's where it can get ugly really fast.
Absolutely. And even to share about my past years ago, and this is the difference from me being a young guy in my early 20s to now not in my early 20s. but seeing like that same spiral was dealt with alcohol and drugs.
Mm,
Whereas this time it was like, okay, wait a minute. I see some things. I need to get some help before it gets worse. You
right,
know, I'm not leaning into self medicating to make it feel better momentarily.
right.
I went through the suck, the momentarily, like you got to
Mhm,
go through that. But I knew that if I got some help, it wouldn't be forever. So
right.
just wanted to share that it's a real thing, you guys. It
Yeah.
happens. There's a few more slides to share. Relationship fulfillment. I think this is big too. We were talking about representation, but knowing that you are worthy of love from yourself and from others, that provides a good sense of self worth. I think too many people forget that they are worthy to love themselves. They look for someone else to love them, forgetting that they can love themselves too. You know,
Right. Right.
and then oh, that was the last one of those factors.
Okay.
So I think we should take a break, let people kind of marinate and digest those factors that influence self worth. And then when we come back, we have some, I think there's about 8 different tips that they give on how to build self worth. So let's take a break. We'll be right back. This is Cruising with the Coaches, conversation with Julian Lee. Hey, folks, welcome back from the break. Hopefully, you were able to understand the 5 things of influence that go into self worth. And maybe you took a moment to think about how your self worth is. Okay. So now we're going to lay out for you from the article. There are about 8 things that you can do or think about to build your self worth. The first one is ask others for love. And while there's plenty of jokes to be made, we're not joking here about that. We're talking about having a network of supportive friends and family that you can rely on in difficult times because that makes a difference in your life. And I changed this. They had in the article if you're feeling low, I said if and when
Mhm.
because when you're feeling low and it can happen, that's when you ask this network for support, you know?
Right.
That's crucial to boosting or kind of rebuilding your self-worth. Okay? The second one is avoid comparison. So freeing yourself from the perceptions about where you should be at a given stage of life. Everyone is on their own path. Now I got to come out here for a second because this is this age of social media and we're comparing, well, not us, but people are comparing to what they see on social media, whether it's money, whether it's exercising, how they look, all kind of things. Man, that can take your self-worth from here all the way down because that's almost an impossible standard. Everyone puts their best foot forward on social
Right.
media. They're
Right.
living their life. Hint to everyone out there, a lot of times though the stars and entertainers, a lot of stuff you see is being rented.
Facts.
Being rented.
Or
Like
it's just free because they want them to support whatever the heck it is that, the brand is. Yeah.
exactly. Like the award shows, I can't tell you how many times the dress, like you said, might be given for free, right? Or even the tux, the fit, if you will, right? It's free, but the jewelry, the bling, man, they're giving that stuff back within
Yes.
48 hours because it's
Yes.
either rented or just given for that award show. So you got like the comparisons, they gotta stop because go ahead. Yeah.
And and the comparisons can actually, you can spin it. You can twist a comparison. And this is what I've learned.
Okay.
As I'm watching, okay, well, back, I don't want to say back in our day, but yeah, we didn't have the social media, right? We didn't have all that stuff in our face. I
Sure.
didn't have to see yada yada have a baby. I didn't see yada yada get married. I didn't see whoever get their masters. Like,
Mhm.
if I heard it through the grapevine, that was one thing. But to like
Right.
see it posted and what have you, it's kind of like, So I'm just saying, we as parents, or even we as people who have young people around us, we
Mhm.
need to recognize. I'm going to tell you right now, my daughter is at that age where her friends are getting married, having babies, and all that good stuff. And I twist the comparison now and I look at my daughters and say, you know what? When I was your age, I was married. When I was your age, I had a house. When I was your age, I had 2 kids. What you're doing is great. Don't you worry about what I was doing. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Just getting
Yes.
into the habit of saying, you don't have to have what everybody else has. What you're doing right now is perfectly fine. And I
Because
support you and I'm proud of you. That's what we need to get in the habit of telling these young people. Because
let's
it
normalize
is,
that. Yeah, because
yes,
you're where you're on your own path. You're where you need to
yes,
be. It's
yes,
someone else's path. That's them. That's the same thing I told my niece. Right when you remember when I went to her getting her master's
yes.
with 3 young kids, full-time job, and being married, and she's like, "Yeah, what's that meme? I don't know how I did it. I just did it." But
You just do it. Yep.
and people are constantly telling her like, "How did you do it?" She's like, "I don't know." But that's the thing. That's what you chose, and that's
Right.
okay. You're
Right.
not doing it because someone told you you need to get your master's or that you are on your path. I support you. in it,
Exactly.
and I'm proud of you for what you're doing on your path.
Yes. So get that
One,
agenda out of your head. I got to go to college. I got to get married. I got to buy a house. I got to have kids. Like, you do you. You figure out what your path is, and then you figure out exactly what it needs that needs to be done for you to get there. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing because chances are they ain't happy what they're doing either. I'm
or
just
they're not
saying.
really doing it. They're not
There
really
you
doing
go. That, there's that too. There's that too. But
or
I
they're not
mean,
really doing it.
to
Yeah.
really talk to somebody, you'll find out, okay, the struggle for them is just as real. Like maybe
Mhm.
they're posting that they aced whatever exam and blah, 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 but they ain't telling you they took it twice. Like, so, like,
It, yeah,
you
see,
don't know.
we're keeping it real with you. How
Yeah.
many people are going to tell you, "Oh my gosh, I made a bad business decision. I had to go back to work full time. I had to do that."
I lost
One,
$20,000. Like, who shares
yeah,
that?
yeah. They're not going to tell you that because they
No.
want you to see the best part, but you don't. It's that whole iceberg thing. You see the tip of the iceberg coming out of the water,
Correct.
but you don't see all of this that's under the water that they've gone
Took
through.
to get there. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Stop the comparing. Stop
So
it.
no comparisons, please. None. None. All right. The next one. Well, this goes right into it, right? But be kind to yourself. And so while criticism and self-criticism can be helpful if it's practiced correctly and in moderation, also recognize your strengths and use them for your own and other people's good, you know?
Correct. Yep.
I mean, that's what we were talking about. Like, okay, that's why I love coaching because I'm really seeing the impact. And as I help other people, I start to actually help myself too.
Right. Right.
So this one is actually a really good one. Um, considering the role that you play in others' lives. And so people can bring joy and importance to each other's lives. Consider the role that you play in your partners, children, friends, family, and personal network. Um, I just want to come back out here to talk about that one because it like that's a hard one to kind of apply. You may not know where you fit in some of those things, but I'd like to say that people are always watching, right?
Yes.
So this is the way that I try to live. If I can look myself in the mirror and say that I'm proud of whatever I'm doing, great. When I'm doing something and no one's around, why am I doing it? Am I taking a shortcut or am I doing what I know is right because it's the right thing to do, not because someone's watching? The
Right.
more that I try to practice living that way, people are watching. And so they see that. And excuse me, but that's the part that I want to get across. I'm not doing it so that someone can watch me do it.
Right.
I'm trying to
Right.
do that because that's what makes me feel good about myself. That's what helps my self-worth. I'm doing the right thing for me because it's the right thing to do. And then other people see that and can get motivated. Yeah, go ahead.
And also accepting the fact that you might serve a role in someone else's life that they could never do for you. Like it's just not in the realm of who they are. Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now, there are many of the people in my circle who will come to me, they need a bulldog. Oh, okay. But when I need a bulldog, where my dog at? Where my dog?
You're looking around like I'm the only one here. What happened?
What I do? What I do? But understanding, but
Yeah,
that's I've accepted that that's who I am. That is my role, and I will move that way. But I
yeah,
mean, to have me, they'll ask me, hey, can you talk to my son? Can you talk to my daughter? They
yeah.
need that. But like if I were to ask for the same thing for my own kids, no, I still have to be that person for them. But it's like okay, like, but
Yeah.
understanding what is my role. Those same people, I know that I can turn to and say, I need you for this. Can you help me with
Exactly.
this and what have you?
Right.
So it's still, reciprocate. They're reciprocative. Is that a word? Am I saying that right?
We'll go with it. Yeah, we'll go with
Reciprocating.
that. It's
Yeah.
reciprocated.
And so I know they're going to do it in a way that is not quite the way that what they ask me to do, but we still
Yeah.
have each other's backs, if
And
that makes sense.
Absolutely. The like you said, the roles are not 50-50. It's
No,
not even. It's, well, this is my role in
right.
this section, in this
I know
person's
I'm
life,
full
in that
time.
life. And by the way, I need something. No, and their role in yours is not the exact same. And that's,
Right.
and like you said, being okay with that. If
Yeah.
you're looking for the same role, then you might have to search a different person,
Right. Right.
or play that role in your own life yourself,
Yes.
But
Yeah.
everybody's role is not the same. Yeah,
No.
for
No.
sure. For sure. Good call on that one. Good call. I think we got this one covered. I think we got this one
Oh
covered.
yeah.
Exercise regularly, but getting outside, taking walks, exercising, and as I put in moving, can also, it can help clear your head. It can improve mental health. And it releases those all important endorphins that all can improve self worth. Um, yeah, I
Being
think
consistent. You have to be consistent.
consistent with it. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
we have both learned that some type of movement activity. Now we're gym folks, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.
No.
And this is what I've coached on a lot, actually, in Weight Watchers. To be honest, the taking away that stigma of exercise and moving it towards movement. That way, it can be something that you want to do, something that you enjoy, and then the more you enjoy it, the more you do it.
Right.
So, now if you want to come with us at the gym, that's fine. We're bringing you along because we're hitting back squats next week. But no, I'm kidding, but we're not working in the
Like,
same
but
gym. Not in the same gym.
but yeah, I mean, and just with the consistency, just understanding I'm a morning person. It has to be first thing. Or I'm a lunch person. I rather not do it. Rather than eat, I'm gonna go exercise. Or if it's an after work thing, or I prefer doing it just before I go to bed. Like kind of figure out what that time frame is for you and just be consistent with it. And then you'll
Mhm.
find that your body craves it. And so it's just like, all right, cool. I got to do it. I got to do it. Or
Mhm.
also acknowledging if you have that friend who is constantly complaining about, their weight or what have you. We get into that place of we think we have to drink and have food with our friends. Okay, you can go walk with them too.
Yeah.
You can like it doesn't always have to be about,
Well,
being socially eating and all that kind of crap.
that's the role we were talking about, right? Maybe your role changes to help get them into a different role for themselves. You
Exactly.
know,
Yep. Yep.
that's what we're talking about. But yeah, that's the exercise part, you guys. This one is finding inspiration in others like you. I think we were talking about this before. Emulating those you respect, and even reaching out to someone you admire to learn about their experiences and their paths taken. Um, that's called finding a mentor, right? I know I've done it. I've reached out to people that I respected, and I'm like, man, how it- for fatherhood, for business, for anything, right? Like, how are you just the greatest? And they're like,
Right.
no, Lee, you're the greatest. And it's all good. but but you gotta reach out because a lot of times, again, they don't understand how they're affecting you. They're just doing what they do, you know?
Right. Right.
So being able to take pieces from that and apply it to what you do, that's what emulating is about. And especially if you can get any knowledge from someone who's been there, done that,
Hmm.
that's the best thing.
Or the reversal of that, when you have a person who could be a potential mentee, don't be shocked by the fact that someone's watching you and asking you questions.
Hmm.
Just, embrace it and say, wow, I didn't know anyone was watching. Like, what can I help you with? What, like that, because that's the other part. It's hard for people to ask other people. So when you are asked, try to be as open as you possibly can.
Absolutely. If you don't have the capacity at the moment,
Right.
you say, hey, you know what? Let's connect at such and such time, and then keep your word.
Right.
And keep your word. You know?
Yes.
All right. I think we've got a couple more. Oh, this one. Give yourself a challenge. So taking on a challenge outside of your comfort zone, it can propel you forward and actually give you new insights. Celebrate your effort in trying something new. Anything you'd like to add about giving yourself a challenge? Because I
I
think
feel
I've had a challenge with business. So there you go.
and I think it's really understanding when it's time to challenge. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah,
if if you've received the challenge openly or not openly, like you really like we all have those challenges that we were not expecting, but
sure.
also understanding when your life is becoming a little bit just going through the motions and you're kind of just, day in, day out, same thing over and over again, like
Mm,
recognizing that and saying, you know what? I need a challenge. And I know you and I have had this conversation where I'm like, dude, like I'm looking for the next chapter. Like this isn't working for me. Like this is
right.
not what I want to do. Like I need next level. And just accepting that and then kind of, okay, what do I want? What's the goal and how am I going to get there? I
Right.
think a lot of us get kind of comfortable because it's so nice to be easy and cozy and comfortable with things. But
Totally.
yeah, it's like that challenge. That challenge is very important.
Well, and on the flip side, like if it's Groundhog's Day and it's comfortable for you, and that's what you want, that's also okay. That's
Yes,
also
yes,
okay. You
yes,
don't have to challenge it if you don't want to. But
correct.
if you become bored or
Hmm.
unhappy or dissatisfied with the same thing over and over and over, that's what we're talking about, giving yourself a challenge that's positive. Don't
Right,
a
right. Yeah,
positive challenge. Don't
yes.
say, how fast can I ruin this? No, no, no. Not
Don't sabotage.
not quite the challenge that you want to
No.
take on, you
Right,
know?
right.
Not at all. The next one is, and this actually, I've started this. This is keeping a journal. Write down things you like about yourself and use your journal as a resource when you're feeling down or need a confidence boost. So I don't journal. I'm not a journaler like every night or every week. It's still pretty random for me, but I have it, and it's funny how I've coached on it. Like, oh yeah, start journaling, do that. I'm like, maybe I should try that, you know? But I've tried it and I do that at random times. But what I make sure I do this. I will put the day in the date and the time
Okay.
before I start writing whatever it is. That way when I go back to look at it and reflect, I then can dive a little bit deeper into, okay, what was going on at that day and time so that I get a better context of what I was writing and why I needed to get it out, you know?
And then
So
as you start to have multiple journals, you can actually look and see, because I am a journal person, um, you can actually look to see if there is a cycle, like there is something that is happening, and then you recognize, oh, that was around the date that my brother passed away, or that's around what would have been yada yada. Like then you start to realize, okay, it's not just an emotion, it's something I'm not dealing with. And then you can
yeah,
kind of like, okay, okay, let me figure this out.
you start seeing the patterns. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
And I got a tip. You can save on journals because I have a digital tablet that I write on. It's no, it's like writing on paper, and it
Okay.
saved me about 6 notebooks. I got rid of those thick six subject notebooks. Got
Oh,
rid of 6 of them. The tablet's called Remarkable too, I think.
okay.
But I was nervous at first because I have other things in that journal. Not journal. I can create notebooks on this digital thing.
Okay.
I was nervous because I'm like, well, what if I lose it? Or what if someone opens, and they say, oh, they say Lee's journal. Okay, let's
Yeah.
go. I was like, oh, this is now in the digital world. And
See, that's where I'm at. You just talking this, and I'm sitting there like, oh, I don't do that out there. What are you talking about?
But you know what? But I let that go, and
Okay.
I did it anyway, and it's still the same feeling for me, you know?
Okay.
So I did, find a way to, like, make it private, so with, like, password protected, something like that. Um, but that works for me, right?
Okay.
Now, I was a full-on real pen, real paper, but
That's me. I'm
I was running
highlighter and sticky notes and
I was running out of physical space. So I was like, all right, I got to
yeah,
change
that makes
this. And then, like I said, I use it for other things too. And
sense.
it's been a space saver. But I just wanted to add that because there can be that level of, oh my gosh, now I'm super vulnerable and it can get hacked and someone else can get
Right.
it.
That's
And
that's all I'm thinking.
it has not happened yet. It
Okay.
hasn't.
Okay.
And I've even forgotten about that as I journal in that particular notebook when I open it up. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. But folks, journaling, it does work. It does work. And you get to recognize and you get to see your growth too. You get to see your growth.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Well, this has been the latest episode of Cruising with the Coaches, a conversation with Julian Lee. We hope that you all have really gotten something out of hearing about self-worth and seeing these steps that can help build your self-worth. By the way, you can find us right down there on YouTube. Go ahead, go to the page, go ahead and like some of the content because I like it. I think Julie likes it, but we want you all to like it. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications to go ahead and get the latest content when we drop it. Until next time, Lee and Julie signing off.
Yeah.